This is NPR News, read by Jacqueline Douglas. Under law, judge seeks sworn declaration from Justice Department in deportation case. This article was written by the NPR Washington desk on March 17, 2025 at 6:03 p.m. Eastern Time. A federal judge Monday ordered the U.S. Justice Department to provide a sworn declaration by noon Eastern Time Tuesday with details on how plane loads of alleged members of the Tren de Aragua were deported despite his order to turn the planes around. The hearing on Monday centered on whether the government complied with Judge James Bosberg's temporary restraining order, and it included debate about when exactly the order was issued and where U.S. custody over deportees ends. Also discussed whether an order versus a written order holds the same weight when it comes to restraining government action. It came after Bosberg's emergency order Saturday that told the administration to stop using wartime powers to immediately deport people it said were part of the Tren de Aragua gang and turn around planes already in the air. Senior Justice Department officials in filing on Sunday argued that the order came too late to stop the deportations, as planes were already outside the U.S. territory. The American Civil Liberties Union and Democrat Forward had sought to block deportations of 5 Venezuelan men for 14 days and later broadened the request to all people who would be deported under Trump-Allen's Enemies Act proclamation concerning the Tren de Aragua. Government lawyers on Sunday wrote that some gang members subject to removal of the proclamation had already been removed from the United States territory by the time the judge issued this written order at 7:26 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. But lawyers from the civil rights groups argue that even though the judge's written order came at 7:26 p.m., the judge had actually issued an oral order between 6:45 p.m. Eastern Time and 6:48 p.m. Eastern Time that directed the government to turn around any planes carrying people being removed under Alien Enemies Act. And that order should hold the same weight, they said. The groups quote the judges as saying, quote, "You should inform your clients of this immediately, and that any plane containing these folks is going to take off or the air needs to be returned to the United States. However that's accomplished, whether turning around a plane or not embarking anyone on the plane or people covered by his plane, I leave you. But this is something that you need to make sure is complied with immediately." Plaintiffs remain extremely concerned that regardless of which time is used, the government may have violated the court's command. The group wrote in a filing on Monday. They said that the U.S. government retained custody of people until the planes landed and they were turned over to El Salvador, and that it didn't matter whether the plane was over international waters or not. On Monday, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that there were questions about whether a verbal order carries the same weight as a legal order as written order, and our lawyers are determined to ask and answer these questions in court. The plaintiffs cited flight-aware data that showed two planes carrying the deportees were still in the air by the time the judge's written order at 7:26 p.m. A third plane took off at 7:37 p.m. after the written order was released, they said. Once again, this is NPR News, read by Jacqueline Douglas. This was Judge Seeks Sworn Declaration from the Justice Department in Deportation Case, published March 17, 2025 at 6:03 Eastern Time by the NPR Washington desk. Go to npr.org. Listen live for more NPR news.